Hey there, AJ here, and today we are going to make an incredibly easy, incredibly delicious tofu scramble. No, don't click away. Now I know that sounds a little off-putting. You're like, a tofu scramble? Tofu scrambles to me have been an amazing substitute for when you're missing sort of eggs, you're just allergic to eggs, or you're tired of eating sweet breakfasts. I don't know who would be tired of eating sweet breakfasts. Either way, this vegan scramble is easy, quick, fast, has a bunch of protein. It's very, very filling, very satisfying. Let's get into making your very own vegan tofu scramble. All right, so the first thing you're gonna need for this recipe is an apron. That's just in case turmeric powder, curry powder ends up on you. That stuff can stain, so you just wanna be safe, or wear clothes you don't love. Just don't be wearing a suit and tie. Don't be wearing, your white dress. Make sure you're wearing something that you don't mind. It's not a messy recipe, but just in case. Next thing is you wanna get some extra firm tofu. Normal firm tofu works, but the firmer the better. Organic ideally, sprouted even better. And so the first thing we're gonna do is press this tofu. Now, if you're like, AJ, I'm new to tofu. I don't know what pressing tofu is. It's exactly what it sounds like. We're gonna open this up. It's hanging out in some water. We're gonna drain that water. And then we're gonna put it on some towels and put something heavy on top of it and let it slowly press out that extra water so we don't have soggy tofu scrambles, so that it actually mimics the texture of scrambled eggs. So let's start by pressing our tofu. All right, so while I have my tofu back there being pressed, you can see it on its sort of like my ratchet style plate with a little bit of a jar on top of it. And so we're gonna let that press. Like, don't rush it because you don't want to completely crush your tofu. So you're just gonna let it set like that for maybe 10 minutes or so. While that's happening, don't worry, we're not gonna waste time. We're gonna chop up some veggies. Now, the veggies I like to put in this, some red onion, some peppers, you could put fresh garlic in it. We're gonna put garlic powder, and I'm gonna throw some baby spinach as well, and then avocado at the end. So these are the things that we're gonna start chopping up. So let's start with the red onion. So when you're for the red onion, you're gonna want to do around 1/4 to half of a red onion for this. Now, I like the red onion strictly for the color. It's not a flavor reason, but the white onion to me just looks kind of basic. Like, it's not that cute. It kind of looks plain, it's hidden in there. But if you don't like red onion, because I know it has a slightly stronger flavor, go ahead, use white onion. We make this all the time with white onion. The other thing too, when you're chopping, get a garbage bowl. All right, so we're just gonna chop this, make it nice and minced, nice and breezy. And like I said, you could do this with any onion. You could do it with white, yellow, Spanish, whatever. I've done it with all of them. It's good with all of them, but I'm feeling red today, so we're gonna do red. We're just gonna mince this pretty fine, somewhere between a chop and a mince, because you want it to be visible, but you don't want it to be giant. All right, so we got our red onion chopped. Next, you're gonna throw in some bell pepper. I usually like red, to be honest, but we have orange left. That's all we have left. And you could do green as well. I know a lot of people like green pepper in their omelets and things like that, scrambled eggs, things like that. But we don't really like green peppers that much, so we don't use them too often. My wife's not a fan of the green pepper, and to be honest, neither am I. So we're gonna do about half of one of these bell peppers, save the other half for later. A nice little rough chop. You want it to be fine, but not too fine. And this is gonna go straight into the pan as well. So we're gonna chop this up, and this is gonna be our other veggie. So we got our orange bell pepper. I found some tomato here that we got left over. So I'm gonna throw this in as well. I think it'll be good. It's nice and hearty. Any hearty form of tomato is gonna be good inside these. And we'll do, this is about half, but that's exactly what you would use anyway. So we're gonna do about half of a tomato. Now we're making a very colorful tofu scramble. It's gonna be good. And really, the great thing about a tofu scramble is it's kind of a good thing to make sure you use up all your food, right? If you have extra tomato sitting around or veggies, there's kind of not a lot of things you can't throw into this and it wouldn't be good. So it's a great way to use up extra food you got lying around and also make yourself something amazing. Next, we got our baby spinach. Now, if you were using kale or something like that, you'd want to chop it. Now, this is baby spinach, so it's going to wilt just fine. Don't need to chop it at all. I'm just saying this in case you are using kale or like chard or something like that, that you would probably want to chop. So we have these. Next, I'm guessing my tofu is nice and ready. So we're gonna start sauteing and preparing the tofu and getting some seasonings in there. All right, so now we got our chopped up veggies. We've got our tofu nice and dried out, not dried, but pressed. And we've got our plate nice and warm. We are going to start making this. So let's start by throwing a little bit of veggie butter in here. Now, I would, if I were you, cook this on medium low, because you don't want to go too fast, because you could easily, and I mean easily, end up like charring the outside of the tofu while leaving the inside still soggy, and that's not good. So you want this to go nice and low and slow. Now we've got our tofu, so what you want to do here, a lot of people chop this. I think that's a mistake. What you want to do is crumble it in. Why? Excellent question. The reason is because then it looks more like a scrambled egg. So I'm a big advocate of getting in there with your hands, crumbling it so it looks like scrambled eggs, instead of chopping it, and then it ends up looking like just like yellow chunks of tofu, and that's not good. Nobody wants that. And you're gonna notice here, we're throwing the tofu in first because it's actually gonna take even longer to cook than the veggies. So the veggies, normally you wanna cook veggies first, but in my experience with making tofu, it takes a little longer to cook up the tofu than the veggies. So we're gonna start with this and then we'll throw the veggies in there. And you're always gonna throw your greens in last because you only want them wilted. You don't want them completely and withered down into nothingness. The other thing I would say too is don't be afraid of the vegan butter with this one. It really helps the flavor, I think, mostly because when I think of egg dishes, I think of like greasy things that you get from the diner. And things at the diner, they got lots of butter in them. So you got to throw your own. So I'm gonna throw a little bit more of this earth balance right on top. Perfect, okay. And that's gonna help. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start to season this actually. So first thing you need to season, like everything, salt. So we're gonna throw some salt right on top of this. Don't be afraid of the salt. Oh man, I'm almost out of salt. Remember, you can always add more salt if you need to. All right, so we have that going. Next thing you wanna add is your turmeric. This is really the only two things you need to make this scramble is the salt and the turmeric. The turmeric is what gives it the eggy yellow color and it makes it taste like an egg. Everything else is optional. I recommend it, but if this is all you have or you're like, look, I don't want to go buy 20 spices, it's totally fine. You can just do it with this. So we're gonna throw some of this turmeric on here, and don't be shy with it. And this stuff stains. Remember, this is why we're wearing the apron. So be easy. And you might be thinking, AJ, why don't you have a spatula? And I'm thinking the same thing. All right, so you wanna make sure you're mixing this nice and well in the beginning so that the flavor is nice and distributed. And don't be afraid to kind of chop it up. I don't think you wanna go too much because then it becomes too fine. But as you're going, just keep breaking it down. You're gonna see it starts looking pretty quickly like scrambled eggs. So this is already looking pretty good. Really, 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 really. Now, if you were lazy or cheap, or you just didn't have the time, you don't have the resources, you don't have the energy, you're a busy human being, this could be it. You could just let this cook for about 5 to 10 minutes and you have yourself a tofu scramble. And that looks pretty good, to be honest. But we're gonna spruce this up, we're gonna make it a little sexier, we're gonna throw some veggies, some more spices, we're gonna put it on some bread. It's gonna be good. You're gonna be real happy you watched this. All right, so now that you've got the turmeric in there, we're gonna wanna throw the red onion next. And the red onion is gonna take the longest to cook, so that's why you wanna go first with it. And really, you wanna go first with these two and the bell pepper as well. Could you throw the tomato in? You could, but I like it to stay a little bit fresher and redder. I don't want it to get too cooked. I'm mostly in it for the color, Is this looking like a whole snack, like a whole meal? Because it is a meal. It's looking good, huh? All right, so now we got these in here. We're gonna mix the onions in so that they actually get cooked up. Because if you have raw onion with your tofu scramble, you're gonna be a cranky person. You're gonna have a bad day, you're gonna come back here, you're gonna be upset with me. So you want it nice and mixed up. I'm gonna throw, actually, believe it or not, a little more vegan butter. Now you don't need to, but it's not gonna hurt. It's just gonna make it taste even better. So now we're gonna add some more things to help flavor this. So we're gonna do a little bit of garlic powder right along the top. And I actually recommend the garlic powder over fresh garlic in this. You could do it with fresh garlic and it's good. I just think the garlic powder tastes a little better in my opinion. All right, so you're gonna throw a little bit of chili powder, not too much, just a titch. We're gonna throw a little bit of smoked paprika, and then this is the last ingredient, and this one is technically optional, but I would say I highly recommend it, and most people would tell you to use this, and that's nutritional yeast. Nutritional yeast, otherwise known as nooch, is like it's a supplement. It has a kind of a natural cheesy taste to it without having any cheese. And it doesn't have, it's not like candida yeast. I know that's a gross thing to think about, but I know a lot of people get worried about that who are trying to eat healthier. It's not that, it's a different type of thing, but it adds a cheesiness to your dishes that kind of mimic the egg taste you want in your scramble. So we're gonna throw a good amount in here. I would say like 2 to 4 tablespoons of the nooch. And then be sure you keep mixing it. And taste as you go, because everybody got different preferences. So you wanna make sure you're eating for your preferences, not just for mine. If you have tried other of my recipes and you're like, you know what, I like everything AJ makes. We got the same vibe, we got the same taste, then do exactly what I do. But if you're new, welcome, but also do you. Do what's gonna make you happy. So basically, all we're gonna do now is we're gonna let this cook out for like another 5 minutes. Again, nice and low so that it dries out. Keep moving it every couple minutes, otherwise you can end up burning one side. Taste testing as you go. And then when you are done, we're gonna throw the tomatoes and the spinach in on top. We're gonna kind of wilt those in, kill the heat, and then you're gonna have that ready to go. So while I let this kind of dry out, finish cooking, I'm gonna toast up some bread. Hopefully by the time I come back, this will be good and ready to go. We can serve it up and I'll have somebody taste test it for you. It might even be me. This has been cooking for about 5 minutes. I just killed the heat and threw in the spinach. So now I'm letting it wilt in very breezily. I'm not cooking it too much because I kind of like it, that in-between stage of cooked spinach, not cooked. If you don't like it, obviously don't put it, but I think it's a pretty good vibe. It makes me feel like I'm doing something healthy for myself, but mostly I like the way it tastes and I like the way it looks. And so we got our toasting, there it goes. Look at that, it's like I planned it, So this is gonna cook up and then we are going to just plate this on top of some nice toast. You could just eat this as is, but I think it looks cute on some toast. And then we're also gonna throw some avocado slices on top of it. Some maybe red pepper flakes too. I like red pepper flakes, or everything spice. Like Trader Joe's has that everything but the bagel spice. That's a good one on top of this as well. Otherwise, this is looking pretty good. I mean, I know I'm tooting my own horn here, but I don't got anybody else here to prop me up, Look at that. I mean, that's looking great, So I'm just gonna chop up some avocado and get this looking nice and cute. I'll see if I can get somebody for a taste test, and if not, it's just you and me. We gonna eat this together. All right, so I'll see you in just a minute. All right, so we did it. We have made a scramble. Let me show it to you, actually, because I think it looks quite glorious, to be honest. Look at that thing. If I didn't tell you this wasn't eggs, you would think it's eggs. So I'm gonna have my beautiful, magical, wonderful fairy wife come in, and she is going to enjoy some tofu scramble. Cool, so
Wow.
Yeah, do you like it?
Yeah.
What?
One with avo and one without?
Yeah, just one was taking pictures, one wasn't, but you can have the picture one, unless you don't want avo.
I'll just try this basic one.
Oh, you want the basic one for my basic? And right now our puppies are at our feet and they're eating the scraps. You beasts! What are you doing? Get out!
It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can have it just as a scramble or on toast.
One of the good things about this one too, for those of you watching it, this is often, for whatever reason, people who are new to eating plant-based, I don't know why they start with this, maybe because it kind of mimics normal food. Normal, whatever that is, right? But this is one of those ones that you can eat it out of a bowl, you can have it in a burrito, you can have it on some toast, and it actually, because it's not eggs, it actually keeps well in the fridge, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. It's one of those things that sounds kind of gross, but you could throw this, we have a bunch of extra. This is not our dinner. That stuff's gonna go, it's gonna be stored, and we're gonna eat it, throughout the week for a quick little lunch and or breakfast, so.
Good.
Really good.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, sweetie. Mm-hmm. Appreciate you. Well, there you have it. We made ourselves some tofu scramble. pretty easy, very adaptable. You can customize it just like you would any scramble. If you try this recipe, why don't you tag me at HeyAgeRivera on any of the social medias, or comment down below what version of the scramble you've had. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you watched this far, maybe push the like button. Tell YouTube, you know what, I like this recipe. Thank you for having me click on this. And if you never want to miss another one of them, subscribe and hit the bell. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time.